Guys, welcome to the I Love CVille show. My name is Jerry Miller. Thank you kindly for joining us. We are live across every social media platform possible. It's good to be with you on a gorgeous Thursday. It's a great day to be alive. We're live in Charlottesville, the Commonwealth, the country, and the world on the I Love CVille network. You, the viewer, you, the listener, can join us on the conversation. You can help dictate the pace and tempo of the conversation of this show by offering your perspective in the comments section. Give the show a like and a share now. If you're listening on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, welcome to the show. Social media, give us your comments in the comments section. A lot we're going to cover today, including the city of Charlottesville. Pretty much, I don't think you call it laying off, but for the time being, 200 employees from the city of Charlottesville will no longer get paychecks from the city of Charlottesville. We'll talk about that on the program. Dairy Market, a phenomenal new development that really is going to get going at the bottom of this year, early next year, has announced 3 new tenants. Chris Henry, this is for you. UVA fraternities are going to do a spring recruitment period. Yes, you heard me correctly. UVA fraternities are going to do a spring recruitment period. I went to the University of Virginia. I was recruited closely and heavily by 3 different fraternities, Chi Phi, SAE, and Phi Kappa Psi. I ended up pledging Phi Kappa Psi. I got this question. How are fraternities going to do keg stands for their future pledges via Zoom? That question and more on the I Love CVille show. Did you guys know that the average price of tuition for a college in Virginia during COVID has increased by 2%? What? A 2% increase for tuition in Virginia? Despite COVID and despite much of the college experience being eradicated? That ain't good. We'll talk about that story on the program. We'll talk about home sales jumping 9.4% nationally in the month of September. And we'll highlight how homes that are in neighborhoods with playgrounds, with swimming pools, hiking trails, golf courses, tennis courts, pickleball courts, clubs, country clubs. These neighborhoods are going gangbusters because it allows the residents of the neighborhood other opportunities to maintain their sanity while staying within the hood. We will talk about that storyline on the I Love CVille show. I'll give you some love on, I'll give the Hummer, the new electric vehicle Hummer from GMC, some attention and spotlight today. If you haven't seen the photos of the new Hummer, it is dope. It is being billed as a super truck, but the super truck comes with a super price tag close to $113,000 for this Hummer. Virginia travels to Miami on Saturday. The Hurricanes, their lead, their edge, the spread for Miami is increasing. Now Miami, a 12.5-point favorite, the 11th ranked team in the nation. And Virginia Tech travels to Wake Forest. That line staying strong at 9. That game in Winston-Salem, 3:30 kick on Saturday. Judah, let's give some love to Interstate Pest and Service Companies. Truly a home's best friend. Interstate Pest and Service Companies. 4 generations of family at Interstate Pest and Service Companies. Give the show a like and a share. Give it a like and a share on any of the platforms you're watching the show upon. Welcome to the program, Adam Kukta, Andre Xavier, Johnny Ornalis. Welcome to the program, Hilton Head, South Carolina. Welcome to the program, Fort Myers, Florida. Folks in Philadelphia watching the show. I have a feeling that's because of Brooks Tanner and Nathan Johnson, our guests in about 16 minutes on the program. We'll welcome 2 culinary rock stars from Philly to today's show to discuss innovation and big ideas that are happening in Philadelphia and how we can relay those innovation, those big ideas. One more? To Charlottesville, Virginia. Guys, our lead story is City Council in Monday's meeting. You may have read this in the Daily Progress today. You may have followed Mayor Nikia Walker's Facebook page where she talks about this as well. 200 temporary employees at the University of Virginia no longer receiving pay City of Charlottesville. 200 temporary employees from the City of Charlottesville no longer receiving pay from the City of Charlottesville. Now, many of these employees in the Parks and Rec department, and I'm going to tell you right now, while I do not like seeing anyone lose their job, being furloughed, being put on ice, not receiving pay, this decision I understand. These employees were paid through August 22nd. They were costing the city on average $26,339 per week. These employees racked up a debt of $605,000 for Charlottesville as it was paying people to sit on the couch. These were lifeguards. These were pool attendants. These were people that literally could not do their job because much of Parks and Recreation across the country, not just Charlottesville, shut down. I never like seeing anybody furloughed, terminated, pink slipped, iced, frozen, whatever you want to call it. My first job out of the University of Virginia was as a reporter and staff writer at the Charlottesville Daily Progress. When I took this job, it was owned by a company called Media General, the Daily Progress. Now the newspaper owned by Lee Enterprises. Media General did a terrible job of running finances for its newspaper brands and the TV stations in its portfolio. I remember the first promotion I got at the Daily Progress, I was roughly 23 years old. That's when I became the youngest editor in the history of the Daily Progress. In this particular promotion, I was said by my managing editor at the time, his name is McGregor McCants. McGregor McCants is one of the spokesmen now at the University of Virginia. He said, "Jerry, I got good news for you." I think my boss, Jerry Ratcliffe, was in that meeting as well, and I love Jerry Ratcliffe. And he said, "Jerry, I got good news for you. You've been doing a great job here at the Daily Progress. You arrive early to work, you stay late, your stories are winning awards from the Virginia Press Association left and right. We love what you're doing at the newspaper. We're going to give you a promotion. We're going to make you an editor here at the Daily Progress despite your youth. You will be the youngest one in the history of this daily paper in Charlottesville, Virginia. Now, Jerry, here's what you get with your promotion." And then he went like this. He coughed. And that's when I should have known it was not going to be a good situation. He said, "You're going to get a new title for your promotion. We're going to give you the title of editor." He said, "For your promotion, you're going to get a new desk to sit at, a better desk in this cubicle city of a newsroom. And this better desk is going to give you more leg room, more notoriety in the newsroom. We're going to give you new business cards, Jerry. The new business cards should be coming next week. And Jerry, they're going to have your new title on them. Aren't you excited for your promotion?" And then I said, before showing any kind of excitement, "Does the promotion come with an increase of pay? What are the perks and benefits of the promotion besides new business cards, a new title, and a change in cubicle?" And he said, "Well, you gotta give a little to get more in the back end." And I said, "What the hell does that mean?" And he said, "Well, your new promotion comes with no increase in raise, no extra money, and in fact, we're asking all our reporters to take 3 furlough days over the next fiscal year here at the Daily Progress." So I said to him, "Let me understand something. You call me into your office 45 minutes before my shift starts. At that time, I was working 4 p.m. to about midnight. I was working in sports. Sports happens in the night. The paper goes to bed at midnight. So he calls me into his office at 3:15, 45 minutes before my shift starts. Makes a big to-do about it. Got the sports editor there, Jerry Hootie Ratcliffe, arguably the best boss I ever had. Got the managing editor there, McGregor McCants. I'm sitting in his office, and 45 minutes before my shift starts, they tried to manage perception. That's my business. We're an advertising agency. And in the process of managing perception, they tried to position my promotion in a way that it was about title, business card, and a new cubicle, and not that it was no extra money, more responsibility, and I'm going to have to take a few furlough days over the next fiscal year because the parent company cannot manage the Daily Progress brand correctly. So that was my first and only experience with the concept furlough. I remember in that time feeling low, down, demoralized, downtrodden, depressed, disturbed, angry, disgusted. So I can only imagine the employees at the city of Charlottesville who no longer are being paid by the Parks and Rec department. They're feeling also similar feelings to this. How are their bills going to be paid? Where are their groceries going to come from? Their rent, their mortgage, their electricity, their water, their cell phone, their cable, their Wi-Fi. How about their kids? They have children. We all get it. We all know it. The reality of the situation, these employees, lifeguards, seasonal employees, people that were tied to parks and recreation that cannot be utilized right now, the reality of the situation is hard decisions have to be made. And the municipality is operating at a massive budget deficit due to COVID. So while this is not a friendly or welcome decision, it was the right one. It was the right one. Just like the managing editor, when he was told to furlough me and the rest of the reporters, it was done to maintain the lights, the longevity, and the operations of the newspaper. That's what Charlottesville's doing right here. I feel for them. 200 city employees no longer getting a paycheck from Charlottesville government. Our next headline comes from Dairy Market. Now, Dairy Market and Dairy Central are in the heart of Charlottesville on Preston Avenue. You're going to have nice apartments. You're going to have major employers like Dexcom and some publicly traded companies in Dairy Market and Dairy Central. You're also going to have a number of food stalls. You're going to have a tap room with Star Hill. Dairy Market, if you could get that on screen, has announced 3 new tenants. Look at the screen, look at the screen, look at the screen. These tenants at Dairy Market, Stony Point Development Group, the brand behind this development, Be Conscious Baking Company, Spring House Sundries, and Manila Street. Manila Street I'm particularly excited about. You've seen the Little Manila food truck on the Charlottesville Downtown Mall or around the City Farmers Market. Now they're going to have a stall in Dairy Market. Interestingly, Manila Street, similar in name to Chim Street. Chim, the Thai restaurant in 5th Street Station, is opening up a restaurant, a food hall in Dairy Market. That's going to be called Chim Street. Now we're going to have another street brand in there, this one Manila Street. Either way, Dairy Market and Dairy Central very quickly filling up their tenant roster. And at the end of this year, early next year, you're going to have a major force in the restaurant and dining scene in Charlottesville, opening in the heart of town that is going to appease, please, and make a lot of customers happy. It's also going to create increased competition for restaurants across the board in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Congrats to Dairy Market and Dairy Central, Chris Henry, for a job well done. 3 new tenants at Dairy Market, very impressive. Jenny Stoner and Johnny Pritzloff, the commercial brokers making these deals happen. Stoner and Pritzloff should get some props. They're making magic happen when people are afraid to sign leases. Stony Point should realize this. Pritzloff and Stoner doing amazing things, filling up that tenant roster. Our next headline, Judah Wickhauer, if you can get it on screen, comes from Greek system at UVA. I want you to envision a pledging or rushing period. Rush. Let's go over what rush is. In the spring semester at UVA, I know this firsthand because I went through this myself. In the spring semester at UVA, first years, freshmen, are romanticized. First year's freshmen are seduced. They're courted. They're dated by fraternities and sororities alike. It's a magical time at the University of Virginia where roughly 35 to 40% of the school is involved in fraternities or sororities of some capacity. The guys, the second, third, and fourth years from fraternities. The gals, the second, third, and fourth years from sororities. They swarm to dorms where the first years are staying. They clap their hands. They play music. They make the first years feel special, feel great. They encourage them. They romanticize them. They seduce them. They wear the black dress with the cleavage and the leg slit that gets everybody's attention. And they say, come on a date with me. Come on a date with me. And they try to get anywhere from 15 to 35 first years in their fraternity or sorority classes. Then they put them through hell, which is called pledging. I did this. When I went through Rush, I was heavily seduced, heavily courted, heavily romanticized by SAE, by Chi Phi, by Phi Kappa Psi. I ended up choosing Phi Kappa Psi, the fraternity that's down Rugby Road, the iconic one right at the end of the Mad Bowl, the one everyone knows from a fraternity standpoint at UVA. I remember during my Rush period taking keg stands, going to mixers with other sororities, hanging out with the upperclassmen, playing football in the Mad Bowl, going to Coupe de Villes where girls from DZ or DG were there to hang out with us. I ask this and I bring this up to you because the spring Rush period now at the University of Virginia, 100% virtual. You heard me correctly, virtual. How can we have virtual keg stands? How do we have virtual mixers? How do we have virtual football games? How do we have virtual rushing? I will bet you, the numbers from an engagement standpoint, pledge class numbers, will be at all-time lows for fraternities and sororities at the University of Virginia. Not only because of this virtual mandate for rushing in the spring, because frankly, but also because people are not engaged with their respective colleges as much as they used to. Sports, a thing of the past. Parties, a thing of the past. Going to bars, a thing of the past. Unless you're Trinity Irish Pub and you're running your business as usual this past weekend. Trinity, that's a no-no. That's a no-no, Trinity. So, boys and girls, my prediction, fraternities and sororities at an all-time low from an enrollment standpoint after the spring rush period transpires. Mark it down. Now, speaking of colleges, our next headline, put it on screen, a very concerning one. Folks, do you realize that the cost of a public tuition, the cost of attending a public college in Virginia during COVID, the cost of tuition has literally increased by 2%. 2% in COVID. How is that possible? How do public colleges in Virginia think they can actually increase the price of tuition by 2%? The average cost for in-state tuition rose by 2% to $25,112. How do colleges think when their model is in a vulnerable position, how do they think that they can increase tuition by 2%? I mean, good Lord, look at what Harvard is doing. Harvard, the most iconic college maybe in the world, Harvard is saying, students, you're going to learn online. And we're going to charge you the same damn tuition. Students, you're going to learn online. And we're not going to give you a break on what you're paying us. How's that possible? How's that possible? COVID is going to shine a spotlight on the nastiness, the extortion, the racket that is college education. A model that appeals to rich, white families more than any other. This model, very broken. Maybe COVID brings about the democratization of education, which we all need. It certainly is not justifying a 2% increase in tuition at the college level at public schools across Virginia. Let's go to real estate. Did you guys know that sales in the Hamptons, are absolutely on fire right now. Real estate on the Hamptons is so on fire, the average sales price in the Hamptons soared 46%. 46%. Last quarter to just over $2 million. That's according to Douglas Elliman and Miller Samuel. The surge in real estate in the Hamptons is directly tied to people sprinting from New York City to live in a place that offers them a little bit more room and breathing in a COVID landscape. New Yorkers are jumping from the Big Apple. They're going to places like the Hamptons. Heck, they're even coming to Charlottesville with their big bags of money and buying up real estate at very expensive clips. Watch this storyline closely because it not only impacts the Big Apple, but it impacts all the communities on the eastern seaboard that have appeal to New Yorkers who are getting out of Dodge. Speaking of real estate, home sales jumped 9.4% in September. 9.4% in September, according to the National Association of Realtors. However, the National Association of Realtors and pundits at the national level are already scratching their head and asking themselves this question: are prices rising too fast? Inventory is tight. You have buyers everywhere. Not enough inventory to appeal to them. As a result, you're getting bidding wars left and right. These bidding wars are driving up the cost of real estate, making it less affordable. Those of us that own homes, we're sitting on stacks of paper. Stacks of paper. Those of us that are trying to get into homes, it's becoming harder to do so. Okay? And if prices continue to increase like they're doing, you have to scratch your head, and you also have to have a pause for concern. And very quickly, before we get to two gentlemen that need no introduction, and Nathan Johnson and Brooks Tanner, I want to talk about the neighborhoods that are getting traction and success across the country and certainly locally. The neighborhoods that have playgrounds for families, hiking trails for families, swimming pools for families, tennis courts, golf courses, pickleball courts, country clubs, things to do within the neighborhood for mom and dad, for little Johnny and little Susie, to stay in the neighborhood, to have fun, to socially distance, but still maintain their sanity. These neighborhoods are the ones that are the popular picks. Mom and dad can get out of their house, they can walk down the hiking trail to a park, a playground, a swing set, a slide, a swimming pool, a tennis court, a golf course, an open field, a soccer field, a basketball court. We want to get out of our houses. We're losing our minds, but we're afraid to be around strangers. The neighborhoods that offer these kind of amenities are the ones that are going absolutely gangbusters. That's where you're seeing the return on investment if you're a homeowner. We'll get to Brooks Tanner and Nathan Johnson here in a matter of moments. Judah, get the Dominion Custom Homes commercial ready to go. I'll give you a countdown when to play that, and then I'll reach out to Brooks and Nathan Johnson. Dominion Custom Homes, owned by John Kerber. This man doing amazing things from a custom home design. John Kerber, Dominion Custom Homes, does it the right way. Judah, let's hear from him in 3, 2, and 1.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm here in this beautiful home built by Dominion Custom Homes, located in the Prophet Ridge neighborhood. I'd like to take a moment to highlight the process of building your dream home with Dominion Custom Homes. The process of building your dream home with Dominion Custom Homes is truly stress-free. Here's why. You get FaceTime with the builder himself, your own personal designer, and you get to pick your finishes from beginning to end. Dominion Custom Homes can make building your dream home a reality. Contact Dominion Custom Homes today.
Dominion Custom Homes, John Kerber, treat you right, and they know what they're doing at DCH. We have Brooks Tanner, Nathan Johnson on the line, 5 states watching the broadcast as we speak. Brooks Tanner, a popular dude in this community. I'm seeing a ton of chefs on the broadcast. I think a direct reflection of this individual we have here, who I'm proud to call a friend. Nathan, we will get to you here in a matter of moments. Actually, why don't we do this, Brooks? Because I have a feeling feeling you and I are going to be talking quite a bit. Why don't we give Nathan a first crack here? Nathan, why don't you introduce yourself to everybody that's watching, what you're all about, hobbies, interests, and who you are?
Sure. So Nathan Johnson, I'm the Culinary Director for Ideation Hospitality and Garces Group. I was an operator for many years and kind of slid into this role. Now I'm overseeing the operations of all the restaurants with the help of Brooks, as well as catering and things of that nature. In my free life, fisherman, hunter, love hiking, all that kind of stuff. Love food, and the COVID crisis has been a challenge for us. So it's been an exciting time and a frustrating time at the same token.
So these guys are in Philadelphia right now. They're on the cusp of innovation. We're going to try to take some of their innovative mentality and bring it to Charlottesville. This gentleman here, Brooks Tanner, freshly shaven, looking sharp per usual. This guy, you may know from Barbecue Exchange. You may know from restaurants across Charlottesville. You may know from Trivia Night at the Lazy Parrot Grill, where he was a force to be reckoned with. Brooks Tanner, I want to pick your brain, my friend. You need absolutely no introduction. Why don't we just cut straight to the chase? You're in restaurants in Philadelphia here. You're an executive chef, my friend, one of the most talented chefs we know. I'm going to throw an open-ended question to you, Brooks. Talk to us about some of the innovation that you are seeing in Philadelphia, some of the cool stuff you're seeing.
Yeah, sure. So Philadelphia is actually really similar to Charlottesville. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Nate, but it's got the most restrictions in Pennsylvania. So it's similar to Charlottesville. But one thing that they did is they opened the streets up to dining. So it's really wreaked havoc on traffic, especially downtown. Parking downtown has pretty much been eliminated, but it gives the restaurants a little bit of breathing room. So we have tables on the sidewalk. They have tables on the physical streets. And for some restaurants, it's expanded their seating capacity twofold, threefold, fourfold, because you're out in the open air. So for me, that's something that I see Philadelphia doing, just getting over. We're in a restaurant called Village Whiskey now, and my trip over here, it took me like a half hour to get like 10 blocks, because of all the streets that are closed, which is crazy, right? But Charlottesville, I don't believe, is doing that. And I think they should. It's super simple from where I come from, from what
I agree 100%. Brooks Tanner, the father of Forrest, one of the most adorable kids we know. Nathan, I'm going to throw this to you, my friend. How did the front of the house respond to extra seats outside, say in a street or in property not tied to the restaurant? A lot of the front of the house staff in Charlottesville hesitant to do this. Some of the commentary I'm hearing is we have to carry plates further from the kitchen to the table. Some of the commentary I'm hearing from front of the house staff is it's hot outside. We're wearing gloves and masks already, and now you're asking us to walk into the road to carry food. That's some of the resistance I'm hearing. I think it's a freaking brilliant idea. As Brooks know, I've been championing this idea for the downtown mall. Your thoughts on this, open-ended, Nathan, anywhere you want to go. Did the front of the house offer resistance at first?
So, yeah, I think that we're fortunate in Philadelphia that we're such a tight-knit restaurant community that while those challenges exist and while they suck for anybody, a lot of the front of the house people just kind of pulled up their bootstraps and dug right in. They're walking many more steps than they did previously. They're carrying heavy trays and heavy plates and hot plates out into the hot environment, wearing masks. Right now, Philadelphia has the requirement that we have to wear a mask, and when you're indoors, you have to actually wear a shield on top of the mask. So some of those people are working indoor and outdoors. So they're going out in basically a hazmat suit in the hot weather. And they've done it kind of all with a smile under the mask. And it's been a challenge, but like I said, they've been really great in saying, like, look, we're just really happy to get back to work. We understand that this is for the longevity and the life expectancy of our restaurant. We're doing this for the restaurant. We're doing this for the community. And some of them are just happy to be back to work too. So,
well, you know what, Jerry? It changes everything. The walk to the POS station is farther, right? So your chicken wings take longer because it took the server an extra 3 minutes to get to the POS system. Then their walk to the kitchen. Then their change of gloves. So the wait time for the guest is longer. The experience is completely different. But what we have found for the most part is the tips are more The guests are more involved in their dining experience. They're asking questions, and the whole the customer employee relationship has increased. So with all those things, for you waiting an extra 20 minutes for your food, you're still tipping more. So it's a full circle, and it's been great.
Very good take there from Brooks Tanner, the father of Forrest, best friend of Dirty Curtis Shaver, who's watching at Peloton Station. Brooks, you're already getting props from a lot of people. I'm not going to get to all these because it would take the entire show. I will give you a few, however. Olivia Branch says, Brooks is the freaking man. I added freaking. She did say you're the man. Olivia Branch also said he's so talented. He's an awesome role model and a genuinely cool guy. Jill at the Lazy Parrot says, hey, I remember that guy. He was a great customer at our bar. All right, so I'm going to throw this to both you guys. What other creativity and innovation are you guys seeing in Philly? Because frankly speaking, this is what's happening in Charlottesville. And Brooks, you may know this. Nathan, I'm going to pass this along to you. On Monday, City Council, which is our governing body in our city, they straight up said, okay, we threatened to take away your cafe spaces from you on the downtown mall if you didn't pay the back rent that you owed for the cafes on the mall. And they said, okay, that was a terrible idea. We're not going to do that. And City Council on Monday finally gave restaurants the approval to expand to parking spaces, like you guys are talking about in Philly, using the outdoor spaces. Nathan, what other creative stuff are you seeing in Philadelphia?
So one of the things, Brooks and I were chatting before we came on, but one of the things that I find that's hugely beneficial for us is we have the Philadelphia, and they're heavily involved in trying to shape these guidelines with the government. So they've been able to kind of platform us operators to get on a call bi-weekly and really discuss our issues with the government directly. And they say, all right, how can we incorporate this into guidelines? Now, they're not listening to everything we're saying because there's certain restrictions here and there, but they take our feedback and they involve us in what it is that they're doing and what guidance is coming out. So it's hugely beneficial for us. Like we were on one last week and we were talking about what are we going to do for the winter? It gets cold up here in Philly. Eating places with all these tables on the street, but no one's going to want to eat when it's 30 degrees outside and it's snowing. So what are we going to do? So we talked about heating lamps and what kind of structures we can put in place and what kind of we have there. And we asked the city, like, hey, this is what we want. Now tell us what we can do. So we heard back from them the following Thursday, kind of the guidelines of what we can do going into the winter months, which up permanent structures. We can have heaters outside. And they kind of shaped that for us and what that would look like.
Brooks, I'm going to throw this to you. Before I do, Andre Xavier, CVille Hop on Tours, says, Brooks, we miss you in Charlottesville. Move back here immediately. That's from Andre Xavier. All right. In the words of Game of Thrones, winter is coming. And we know winter is coming, and that is a scary proposition for any model, as Nathan has said, that relies on any kind of seating outside. We saw in Pittsburgh, Dirty Curdy loves Steel City. I'm giving him some props right now. We saw in Pittsburgh, Brooks, that they're going to start doing these miniature, almost greenhouses around tables, and these miniature greenhouses sit 2 to 4 covers in these greenhouses, and they're hoping maybe 2 turns a night in these greenhouses to help with winter. What do you want to take, anywhere you want to go on winter in restaurants, survival? It's a Darwinistic world out there, certainly as it gets colder in this industry. Anywhere you want to go, Brooks?
Sure. I think winter is just an extension of what we saw all the time, which is we're pivoting daily. So Nathan's coming up with ideas. He's talking with us. We're working with him. Let's try to sell ingredients. Let's make a larder. Let's, do takeout in this way. Let's deliver raw product. Let's sell groceries, right? And we do this every day, and it's very on your body physically, because sometimes, like any great leader, we make a decision. Okay, tomorrow we're going to try to do a brand which sells groceries, right? We do all the legwork behind that. We start to institute it in different areas, and then we decide, wait, that's not a great idea. Let's pull back. Let's try this idea. So what I would say is just keep fighting the good fight. Maybe for your restaurant, the cubicle is a great idea, right? Maybe in another restaurant that's on another side of the street that doesn't get the wind draft like that particular restaurant, maybe that's not the best idea. And there's no right answers. But the important thing, Jerry, is you wake up every day and you fight, right? You get on these calls with city council. You put up some plastic. You buy one cubicle, one glass greenhouse to see what the hell it is, right? And you just keep fighting, and you keep talking with your peers, and you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Multiple people are chiming in about ghost kitchens, fellas.
Sure.
And ghost kitchens seem to be all the rage now. And I'm going to try and educate me. You guys are a hell of a lot smarter than me. This is what my understanding of a ghost kitchen is. A ghost kitchen is essentially a place of business that does not serve patrons from a seating standpoint. A ghost kitchen can operate multiple menus out of one kitchen. It's leveraging digital, mobile, and social to get the word out about its menu. It's oftentimes using third-party delivery like Postmates or Grubhub or Uber Eats to get its food to customers. The questions we have coming from ghost kitchens or about ghost kitchens are, this would seem to be a very popular path for success for a lot of the restaurants. Do you agree or disagree with that comment, Nathan?
Kind of to touch on what Brooks was saying, is really the success of our restaurants and our locations, what we have found is the diversification of revenues. So ghost kitchen is another way to get revenue in the door. It may not be the sole thing in the restaurant, but it's going to add to it. It's going to help. It's going to add legs. It's going to support to it. So ghost kitchen is great. And it's exactly how you described it. It's lowering your overhead of a restaurant, but still charging the guests kind of the price of your premium food. So, when you get something to go, the price of that doesn't change if you eat it in or you get it to go. So now if I'm selling it to go, I do have to pay for to-go packaging, but I can also get a space that the rent is much lower. I don't have to worry about staffing servers. I don't have to worry about staffing bartenders. I don't have to worry about staffing any front of the house. I just need some cooks myself and then someone that can organize some takeout bags so that when people come to grab them, they can grab them and go. So my overhead's much lower, which means my profitability is going to flow through much stronger. So that works for some people. It works very well. And again, as Brooks said, it might not work for someone else. You just have to keep figuring out what works for you, your operation, and try to have as many different streams of revenue coming in as possible, and that's what's going to keep you alive.
I think another great thing that we've done and other restaurants are doing on the same note is with that ghost kitchen concept, you can change brands. You can pivot from one brand to the next brand to the next brand to the next brand. You're not locked into, you could start selling Dirty Curdy wings, right? And next thing, or whatever kind of marketing you come up with. But what I'm trying to say is, like, there's probably a diamond in the rough as you're circulating through these brands and trying to figure out what works. You're going to stumble across something, and that's really at times what it is. You stumble onto something, you notice a little increase in sales, you notice a little social following, and then you grab onto that. Right, and you build on that foundation. You just keep building and building and building.
Brooks, you continue to get props. Melissa Closehart, executive chef at Junction, goes Brooks and 4 heart emojis for you. Curtis is watching. He says, "You're my boy, Brooksy." Multiple people saying 434 proud for Brooks Tanner. All right, tough question. Here it is. Going through the winter, which we know is going to be brutal for everybody, what do we think spring and the restaurant landscape looks like, say, 6 months from now, if we can get lucky and work our way to a vaccine? And then the next thing is, if Americans are willing to take a phase 1 a vaccine that has no testing or proof of performance, what is the future of restaurants, do you think, Nathan? I'm sure this is a conversation you have often with your leadership team.
Sure, yeah. I think the landscape for restaurants has changed drastically. It was. There's a lot of silver linings in this, though. We've looked at the environment for our employees. We've looked at multiple different things that were actually kind of hurting the restaurant industry, specifically in Philly, and we've looked at ways to improve those and maintain those improvements for longevity, and to keep this a restaurant, an industry that I want to continue to be a part of. For me, one of the thoughts that we've had as a leadership group is basically that once a vaccine is released, it'll be probably 3 months until things start to normalize revenue-wise and cover counts kind of get back to normal. So we're hoping for that vaccine sooner than later. But if that doesn't come out to, say, March, we're looking at losing probably the first 6 months of 2021. It won't be the revenues that were once there. And I think that the developments along the way, things like you're talking about ghost kitchens and stuff like that, those things will remain. It's not like they're just going to go away. Those things will be something that people will become accustomed to. And even if, like you said, Americans don't want to get the vaccine, they're going to need things like a ghost kitchen because they're still going to have to eat. And they're still going to want to get that restaurant quality food. So there's a lot of variance and a lot of variables that, I can't predict, and it's all speculation. And we just kind of use what we learn every day to try to figure out what the next course of action is going to be and what's going to happen down the road.
What do you think, Brooks?
I think I have a little bit different approach, but I'm a dreamer, so like I'm a romanticist. I see. You look at other markets like real estate, for example, other businesses that have started to come slowly back online, and they're crushing. I think once we get a grip, and you kind of see it already in Philly, people are coming out Saturday nights. The places are packed. Some of our restaurants are actually beating our budgets that we made in 2000 last year for this year. We're beating revenue, right? It's only, you don't see many, trust me. But I think they're going to come back in hordes, and I think people should be ready because I think it's going to be really, really busy. I know on the catering aspect, we're completely crushed next year already with all our commitments, all our weddings. We've already exceeded our budget for next year, and we're not even done. We're not even done taking the sales, for the rest of this year. So I think once the floodgates do open, it's going to come heavy. It's going to come strong, and I don't think that's going to go away. So you got to be cautious from a financials perspective. But when they come, you got to be ready to grab that revenue and hang on to it. That's the important thing. Is you got to make customers happy, Gary, so they can come back.
You guys have you have this question coming from multiple people. I apologize for interrupting there, Brooks. I apologize. My fault. Multiple people are asking this question, including 3 restaurant owners. What are these guys' take on fine dining and whether COVID is going to end fine dining here? I'm going to add a little background to it. So my wife and I go out to eat constantly. It's part of what we do. We go out to eat, then we spotlight it on the show in our network. Fine dining for us was as much about the food as it was the experience. Going there for a badass cocktail. Going there and having conversations with my wife without my kid being around. Having a date without our kid being around. There's going to be a common theme here without our kid being around. So the question I have for you is, for us, fine dining was going there and knowing our server, having a great cocktail, having the food piping hot when it's on the plate, having the staff tell us what the special is today and why they think it would be good for us. A lot of those elements are not going to scale to curbside or takeout for fine dining, and I think that's safe to say. So my friends, the question I have for you and what the restaurateurs in this community are asking is, fine dining going to die because of COVID-19?
Yeah, I'll take it. I think just what I said. I think people have been telling me for the last 20 years that fine dining is no more. You can get the same quality food at the bistro. You can cook it yourself, blah, blah, blah. It's never going away. Fine dining, Jerry, is an experience, man. It's something that you said you go to get away. It's like going to the movies. It's like going on vacation, right? Except you're going a couple blocks away. So no, I think it's going to come back stronger. I think people like yourselves and my family, we're longing for that experience. Some of the fine dining establishments that are open here, they're doing 25 or 50% capacity. They're packed. They're packed every night. So I think they're healthy, and I think it's going to be healthier.
Yeah. So I think I share much in that. I think that it's not going to kill fine dining as long as there's people still willing to do fine dining. I think that you have to remember fine dining is a luxury. So, kind of back to what you were talking about earlier in your podcast, you had 200 employees laid off or furloughed, no longer getting a paycheck. Those people can't go out and enjoy fine dining. They don't have have the disposable income anymore. So until that sort of thing stops happening across the board, we're not going to see that was once there for fine dining restaurants, but it will stop at some point. Those 200 people may go into a different industry and get a better job and actually have more money. They may transition into something else. Once that happens and they have that disposable income again, the demand is still going to be there because people love, like you said, you yourself. I love it. Everybody loves to go out and eat, whether it's without your kid or with your fiance, with your wife, with your girlfriend, whatever, with your friend, with your buds, for the experience. And that's what people are going to be willing to pay for and continue to be willing to pay for as long as restaurants present that product to them.
Very nice. Big-time ballers on the show from Philadelphia, Nathan Johnson and Brooks Tanner. Brooks Tanner, the props continues. This is from Christelle at C&O. She says, Brooks, hey, I miss you. I'm glad you're doing well. It's great to see you on here. And dude, I have I can show you here. It's like a list of people trying to give you props here, dude. This comment came in from Andre, and it echoes what you're saying. Fine dining will become even more exclusive. It's not going to go away. It's just changing and evolving. Brooks, you agree with that?
I do. You know, the sad part about this is the poverty disparity is going to be greater, in my opinion. Rich people are getting richer, and it's an old cliche, right? So there's a lot of disposable income out there. I know some of the people I've spoken with have a lot of money. They're looking to invest. They're looking to do things because they haven't had anything to do for the last 10 months. But on the other hand, the people that haven't had jobs or haven't worked have really, really, really been struggling. So my point to that is the market that goes to fine dining, the clients that frequent those establishments, I think will have the disposable income and really want to spend it and give back in that manner in their community.
This is a really good question that just came in from a 2-unit restaurant owner in Charlottesville. Nathan and Brooks, if you had $300,000 and you were opening up a food and beverage concept, what would it be?
Oh, shit.
Sure.
We've been doing
You can say that, Brooks. You can say that. That's okay.
No. Okay.
Really, you have to do some market research. It's a hard question to ask.
In Charlottesville?
Let's say in general, because Nathan is not from Charlottesville. Let's just say in general.
Okay.
So, first step for me would be you do your market research. Find out what you're good at, what you can provide that no one else is providing, right? That's the key to a successful business in my mind. So you start there, and you should be able to gather a couple different ideas, and then you kind of bet. Right now, for me, I would look at a restaurant that's a little bit more upscale casual that could possibly transition into something more fine dining or could scale down into something even more casual. So you kind of hit the middle of the road, see what happens, and then start making adjustments based on what the guest feedback is and the guest perception is. You open the doors, during a COVID environment, you're not going to see droves of people probably flooding in like you would on an out of COVID environment. But as you see that build, you make these small tweaks here and there along the way, and then you should have a successful plan.
And I'm going super specific, so I'm going to do barbecue. No, I'm just kidding. I'm going Greek, and here's the kicker. I think Greek cuisine has so much potential, and I think a lot of Greek restaurants are dying because they're diner-esque, and people are like, I don't want to go to a greasy spoon. But I would really highlight fresh ingredients, Greece-style food, fast casual concept, super fresh, pita sandwiches that are wrapped, wines, that kind of stuff. There's a couple of my buddies are doing that on the West Coast. They're doing really well at it. So I think it's a concept that everybody's kind of knocking, but I think is ready to make a big comeback.
Brooks, I swear I thought you would have said a bagel joint that toasted their bagels.
Yeah, we might do that too. Oh yeah, I'm coming back. Yeah, we got to compete with Bodo's, right?
My buddy Nathan, for your background here, there's only one bagel joint in the entire town. They do not toast their bagels.
That's
and they
insane.
have a cult following of 800 to 1,000 covers a day. People wait in a 50-person line for this place, even during COVID. I mean, it's nuts. All right, so this question's coming in from a one-unit owner. Are you guys talking in your leadership meetings about food trucks or taking food to people?
Yeah, so we've definitely discussed it. It's a challenge because there's not groups of people anymore like there once was, right? So I know that you kind of have mentioned that the city in Charlottesville is not allowing people to gather in public space. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah, so if you're not able to do that, then a food truck is kind of a moot point, right? Otherwise, it's all on private property, and you just have to get lucky that there's going to be enough people to support the revenue. And we see that same thing here in Philadelphia because there's so much contraction in all the businesses, not just the food industry. You don't see the foot traffic that you used to. More people are driving. I mean, me, myself, I can say that I've driven more during COVID than I have in the last probably 6 or 7 years of my life. And so a food truck might not necessarily be the best idea. Now, something like a pop-up where there's some heavy marketing and you're going to do it in a space for a couple days, action that way, that I think is a good idea and sustainable. But like a food truck that maybe just drives around and parks at different places, different times during the week might be a challenge for you.
Brooks?
Yeah, I was going to talk about pop-ups a little bit. That goes back into the ghost kitchen branding, switching branding. So there's a ton of chefs in Philly, really good chefs they don't have a home anymore. And they're doing pop-ups all over the place. I think there's a restaurant, what is it, the Sky Bar, right? They do a couple pop-ups, I think.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's enough of those going on in Charlottesville. So there's all this. I know there's super talented chefs in Charlottesville. I've worked with a lot of them. I think they pop-ups, at different places, but making those a regular thing. You know, every Friday pop-up, every Sunday is another person's pop-up, and the marketing that they do in Philly, they're crushing it. You know, because they're pop-ups, yes, but they have a schedule. It's not just like in 2 days I'm going to be here, right?
This one's coming in from Timmy Smith, who's watching in Richmond, and he says, I remember this guest from his time at the Smoker at Barbecue Exchange. I agree with him that a barbecue exchange in Philadelphia would explode. Would Craig Hartman ever do that? I need to say this. Timmy Smith in Richmond, I think Brooks was joking when he mentioned barbecue. Were you not joking? I don't think Craig Hartman's bringing a BBQ exchange to Philly.
The important part of this is like opportunity, Jerry.
All right.
No, it's definitely not out of the question. There's a bunch of great barbecues in Philly. I think Craig and I could compete with the best of them for sure, man.
I love it.
You know, is the time right? Who knows? You know.
Nathan, your fellow colleagues, your restaurateurs in the business, in the industry, what are they saying? How are they feeling? What's their temperature? What's their level of confidence?
I think that, we're still not through the worst of it. Obviously, winter around the corner. So a lot of us are just bracing for kind of that. But like I said before, there's a silver lining in all of this. I think that the restaurants that are able to piece this together and struggle and fight through it are going to come out on the other side stronger than they ever were before, more successful than they ever were before. And it's going to have good feel-good story behind it of, look, man, I survived COVID. Like that's like the hardest thing I could have ever done. My restaurant survived COVID. Yeah. I came out on the other side, and I still have people coming in the door every day, and I was able to serve thousands of meals during this period. That's something that I feel prideful in, and I Brooks does too. So
super inspiring. Look, nobody's making money in our business right now. I mean, there's 1%ers that are doing great, and I'm happy for them. But the important thing, employed. We're keeping people employed. We're keeping the lights on. We're keeping our business alive until the floodgates do open. And right. If we can do that, I'm working harder than I ever did. I'm sleeping like 5 hours a night. You know, Nate and I are pivoting every day, making spreadsheets, doing this. How can we make these budgets work? And but if we can survive through that, then the stories you're going to tell your grandkids are endless.
Oh, well said. Nathan Johnson, I see why you welcomed in here. Dude, you're a rock star. Brooks, you are too. This is coming from Whitney. Whitney, one of the servers at the Lazy Parrot Grill. Hey, I remember that guy. He used to slam shots all the time when he got off work with another bearded guy. I enjoy seeing him at Lazy Parrot all the time.
Did you have a beard back
That's
then?
from Whitney. Did you? I don't think you had a beard. I think she's talking about Curtis. Is that who she's talking about?
Who knows?
All right, get us out of here on this note, guys. I just found this out. Brooks is expecting another child, so when you see him, congratulate him on that. I love seeing
Baby girl.
Forrest on Instagram on your hiking endeavors. How about a message, Brooks, to everybody in Charlottesville and Central Virginia that's watching? Anywhere you want to go, any topic you want to cover, the show and the format
Sure.
is yours.
Sure. I think don't lay down if you're a restaurateur or a cook or a server, a chef in Charlottesville. There's more restaurants per capita in Charlottesville than a lot of places in the country. Super talented. There's a lot of talent in Charlottesville that exceeds some of the talent I see in big cities like Philadelphia and New York City. So don't ever that. Get up and fight. You guys will make it through. You always do with people like Jerry. Use each other as leverage. I call other restaurateurs. Nate and I help restaurants next door all the time. Not just giving them a piece of fries or something that they, but giving them people, giving them resources, giving them connections, making those relationships amongst each other that you'll have for the rest of your life. So.
Well said. Dude, you know what you guys should do? Just an idea. You guys should start a podcast co-hosted by Brooks and Nathan. And it could just be like nitty-gritty stuff from the kitchen, innovative ideas that you guys are doing. Because you guys clearly work a lot of hours together. You guys are clearly homies. You guys clearly are constantly having to challenge yourself because no one knows what tomorrow brings with COVID. Dude, people would listen to that podcast. And you could use that podcast as an opportunity to promote and drive revenue and new customers to your restaurants. And I'm sure both of you have aspirations one day of launching your own brands. Just an idea. I'm just going to throw that out there. I would share it. Nathan, I think you're the freaking man. You and I have never met in person, but you made us smarter today. Brooks, I would give you a chest bump if you were here. Screw COVID. I would literally give you a chest bump. To your beautiful wife, please tell her Charlottesville says hello. Forrest, please tell him we say hello. And to your soon-to-be-born daughter, she's got an amazing family she's coming into, my friend.
Thank you. I miss you guys, and I love all of you guys there. And you guys do it every day. You fight with each other, so just keep that going.
All right, we will. Hey, thank you guys. Thank you, Nathan. You guys have a good one. You guys are awesome.
Take care.
Love those guys. Brooks, we miss in Charlottesville. That guy's A+ people, don't we, Curtis? I think we could say that. I miss that guy big time. Let's go to the I Love CVille Instagram spotlight. What's on the spotlight today? Did you know I Love CVille has the third largest Instagram account and Instagram community in Charlottesville, Virginia? UVA and the city of Charlottesville, the only two with a larger account than us. I think 12,500 followers on our account. Do we have what do we have on there? The tacos? We got the Brazos tacos? Yep. Look at the screen. Brazos, baby. Brazos, baby. Ix Park. Follow I Love CVille on Instagram. These tacos were as good as it looks. Let's get to sports. LSU has banned OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., for 2 years. He was giving cash money payouts to the tune of $2,000 to Tiger football players after they won the national championship against Clemson. Literally on the football field, Odell Beckham Jr., OBJ, was taking money out of his pocket and giving it to players after they won the national championship as if he was giving money to Bambi, the stripper, at the Gold Club in Atlanta. OBJ, you cannot give money to college football players on the football field while thousands of cameras are watching you do this. That's called a violation. As a result, LSU is losing scholarships. OBJ cannot go to LSU for 2 years, and now OBJ is taking his $2,000 to Bambi and the Gold Club in Atlanta. Shame on you. What's the sound effect for OBJ? How about, that's not a good sound effect. This is a better one for OBJ. Thank you. Next headline, Judah Wickhauer. Let's get it on screen. This one from GMC. Have you seen the new Hummer? Have you guys seen the new Hummer? They're calling it a super truck. The Hummer, the new one, is now an electric vehicle. You heard me correctly, an electric vehicle for what used to be the most gas-guzzling vehicle we knew. Remember the Hummer 20 years ago? It was a military vehicle that soccer moms liked to drive around town because they felt safe and tall. Well, that military vehicle that soccer moms were driving around town got about 8 miles to the gallon and ruined the environment with the pollution. Now, the Hummer from GMC is an electric vehicle. The super truck is slated for delivery fall 2021. You know what the list price is for this? It gets 350 miles on one charge. You know what the asking price for this super truck is? $112,595. I mean, that's a hell of a lot of money. $112,595 for the super truck from GMC. Quickly, UVA at Miami. Get it on screen. 11 in the nation, the Miami Hurricanes. Miami, a 12.5-point favorite. That line is expanding. Hurricanes, 12.5-point favorite. It opened around 11 on Monday. Miami, 8 p.m. kickoff, ACC Network. The Wahoos play back-to-back ranked opponents. I fear Virginia is about to go. Judah, let's put this on screen. 1-5 after the game against North Carolina. Okay? This is a crossroads situation for Bronco, a coach I love dearly, okay? We have a quarterback conundrum on our hands, the most important position in football. We don't have one. Miami's going to expose that on Saturday night. Virginia Tech, 9-point favorite, 19 in the nation. The Virginia Tech Hokies, a 9-point favorite at Wake Forest, 3:30 kickoff in Winston-Salem. The Hokies looking dynamic, explosive, and super deep. They're winning football games despite having a limited roster. Save $288 on Ting Fiber Internet. Judah, show them how on screen. You can get the best internet in the area for a $288 reduction in price only through this network. You got to go through this link, ilovecville.ting.com, and you save $288. ilovecville.ting.com, and you save $288. Scott Wagner, Judah, Scott Wagner Chiropractic and Sports Medicine, changing people's lives through chiropractic care, sports medicine, and physical therapy. Who's got your back? Dr. Wagner. Dr. Wagner. Dr. Wagner has your back. All right, let's get to comments. Put your comments in the comments section. Put your comments in the comments section. If you have something you want to relay on screen, now is the time to do it. This from Johnny Ornales. Johnny owns El Marachi, one of the best Mexican restaurants in Central Virginia. Johnny's El Marachi in Zion's Crossroads. It is damn good. Damn good. Damn good. Johnny, this is for you. Johnny says, Chris Henry and Stony Point have fantastic vision for this community. Johnny would know his landlord, Chris Henry, in Stony Point. Bruno Moon has a comment. Bruno Moon, I love when you watch the program. He says, kudos to the city of Charlottesville for paying non-working employees as long as they did. I worked for a donation-based public facility, and we were only able to receive pay for about 6 weeks. Bruno Moon, thank you for showing and showcasing that vulnerability. Our next headline, our next comment. This one from Louise Stevenson. Jerry, I love your show. I watch it every single day. You are my new source for news, and I'm being sure to tell other people what you're doing. Thank you for keeping Charlottesville in line. Brooks, this is for you. Brooks Tanner. Are you ready for this, Brooks Tanner? This is from Craig Hartman, your former boss at Barbecue Exchange, Brooks Tanner. Are you ready for what Chef Hartman has to say? Brooksy, are you ready? Craig Hartman says this. Brooks, I like how you edited me out of this picture. Why am I not in that picture with Brooks right now? Craig Hartman, we love you on this show. We love you, Chef. I sincerely mean that. Litza Lambrinos. Litza, will you remind me what restaurant your family owns? Litza Lambrinos? If you could put that in the feed, Litza Lambrinos, that would mean a lot to me. Litza Lambrinos says, Oppa, Oppa, Oppa. Giving Brooks Tanner some props right there. Let me know what restaurant your family owns, Litza Lambrinos. That would mean the world to me because you're offering fantastic perspective here. Andre says, I'm very concerned for the survival of restaurants in the winter. Andre, you and me both. Andre Xavier, how about winter for the wineries, breweries, cideries, and distillery on 151? What's going to happen to them? Another good point from Andre Xavier. Remember, how many people are going to sit outside at Bull Rock? How many people are going to sit outside at Devil's Backbone, at Blue Toad? How many people are going to sit outside at Blue Mountain during the winter on 150 Fun? Not many. Remember, inside seating also limited as well. Andre's worried about this because he owns a business tied to this industry, one of the best in CVille hop-on tours. This comment coming in from Grace. Grace is watching in Hilton Head. Jerry, my husband and I are graduates of the University of Virginia in 1999. We are trying to make our way back to Charlottesville so we can start our lives again and spend more time with our kids. Right now, all we do is work and we do the rat race. Thank you for keeping us up to date with everything Charlottesville related, and you are 100% right. The neighborhoods we are visiting to move our family back, they all have playgrounds, parks, hiking trails, and stuff for our kids to do because we're tired of having them in our playroom all week long. Thank you very much for that perspective. Guys, my name is Jerry Miller. This is the I Love CVille show. The entire premise of this program is to bring approachable content to you across social media. We do not follow the police blotter. We do not talk about the same stuff every other news outlet talks about. We don't talk about crime. We don't talk about the police blotter. We talk about the stuff that matters to you. And that's why the I Live CVille show has become the most watched network and brand in Central Virginia. Judah Wickhauer, our director. Evelyn Fuskas, welcome to the broadcast. We had 6 different states watching today's show: Central Virginia, Northern Virginia, and Richmond on the broadcast as well. My friends, keep it local, shop local, live local, enjoy local, keep your money in the community. Help the people you want to see survive a pandemic that no one has any experience managing. If we do not do this, when we get on the other side of this pandemic, we will be left with 2 scenarios. A ghost town, specifically the brands we love to patronize no longer being alive. And then the next evolution will be new businesses launching completely from scratch. And while I love when new businesses launch completely from scratch, I love even more supporting the businesses that are already in operation. Because I personally know, as the owner of what? A real estate company, an advertising agency, and this network, I know firsthand how freaking hard it is to run a company. It is brutal. I've taken 1 vacation in 12 years. I put my entire life savings into this organization. For the first 6 months, 12 and a half years ago, I had 0 customers. I had to go to the Panda Garden buffet, and I had to scrape food off a Chinese food buffet plate into Ziploc bags so I could eat for 2 days. Not only me, but my beautiful brown dog, Lucy. Rest in power, Lucy, the beautiful brown dog. You are missed. Being a business owner is brutal. Support the ones that you love, because if we do not do this, they will not survive winter. I can't be more clear than that. Thank you for joining us on a great day to be alive. When you're above the mud, it is a great day to be alive. Stop complaining. Find something that you're happy about. Stop moaning. Realize we are alive and we have our health and we can figure it out. Yes, it's hard. Yes, it's Darwinistic. But guess what? We're strong. We're creative. We're open-minded. And we can figure this out, just like Brooks Tanner just said. Thank you for joining us. Take care. Judah.